Sea. If I understand correctly, the Sea Org is a paramilitary organization loosely modeled after the U.S. Navy as Hubbard knew it during World War II. Most military forces have policies on haircuts and facial hair. The U.S. Navy in particular has a long on-again, off-again relationship with beards. Over the years, they've been repeatedly allowed and then banned again. The ban presently in force was instituted in 1984. Also, unlike the U.S. Army and the U.S. Air Force, the Navy doesn't allow mustaches. Anyway, my question, what, if any, is the Sea Org policy on haircuts and facial hair? Thanks, Nick. Good question, and only because it's kind of interesting in how the Sea Org demands that its membership present itself to the world. In this day where, you got people with studs and plugs and nipple rings and all kinds of, crazy stuff that people do, which I wouldn't particularly get into, but I don't, knock other people doing it. You want to pierce up your body, go right ahead. Sea Org? No, they're not going to have any of that. It is very conservative. As far as facial hair, people can have beards in the Sea Org. People can have mustaches in the Sea Org. Men can, of course. Hopefully the women don't. And as long as they're neatly trimmed, as long as they look professional. The idea is business professional standard. That's basically, and that standard, and I guess I should say business professional standard from, say, the, I don't know, the 90s or I don't know exactly what time period you would say, because, like, for example, I won't say the 50s. People in the Sea Org don't have to have crew cuts. They don't have to have, no facial hair. I don't know that that's ever been a thing in the Sea Org. By the time I got in the 1980s, the idea of having long hair was definitely nilcho, though. Which was funny, because we would talk about the fact that old members, you'd see pictures of people back on the ship in the 60s and 70s, and they had long hair, ponytails, beards, long mustaches, droopy. And obviously the 60s and 70s hip, chic, professional look was maybe a little different from, as time moved forward. So that's kind of, so they really, it's one of those things where they don't define it exactly. There aren't specific guides. There's no, like, necessary length. It's more like, it's more like if you piss off the wrong person, or you look in a way that some senior executive disagrees with or is somehow offended by your appearance, you're going to hear about it. And they're gonna tell you straight away, and then sometimes I saw a couple times during my time in the Sea Org, people ordered directly to go get a haircut or go get whatever, dealt with. This is mostly dealt with, pretty much handled on the EPF, the Estates Project Force, which is sort of the Sea Org boot camp. When you first get into the Sea Org, you have to go through all this rigorous training and classes and stuff. And the guy who runs the EPF is preferably somebody with a military background and somebody who's going to run a tight ship on the EPF. is going to be, very stringent. And they're going to, remove all the studs and the plugs and anything that's going to, be of poor appearance as far as Sea Org style goes. And it's kind of a cultural thing. It's not really a in-writing thing. There's a guide, I think, at Flag and in PAC, the big blue buildings in LA. There are guides to appearance, little booklets that they put together that basically just say neatly trimmed. So, if it fits that kind of look, then you're pretty much going to be okay. Women get a lot more attention. There was one time where we even had professionals come in and do a whole grooming thing with all the women on the base. This was in the late 90s. And they styled a bunch of women and cut hair and tried to they gave a seminar or something on appearance. They did one for the guys and one for the girls. And so there were efforts made in that direction, and that's pretty much how it goes. If things get too unruly, if you get too unruly or unkempt, again, you're going to hear about it. But most of the time, people don't pay a whole lot of attention to it unless it's distracting. So anyway, that's what I can say about that.